Many, many moons ago, in the days when men were men, and pansy was the name of a flower. That's not today nor yesterday, I can tell you. I remember I came from a very, very small village down in Kerry called Ballyhaberdashamuckry. I know you've heard of a one-horse town. Now, this was a fantastic town. And the villagers there were only brilliant people. And the air in the village, because it was beside the sea, the air was so invigorating. The people were living to 100 and 110 and 120. Oh, jeez, we had to shoot most of them to get them into the cemetery. And by God, they brought down this big double and jackeen of an architect to come down and design a cemetery. And what did he do? He designed a cemetery on a hill 300 feet above the village. And sure, God, the air up in the cemetery was better than it was down in the village. There was hardly any point in burying them at all. We eventually had to get a lad employed full time in the cemetery, and he's going around all day with a big stick in his hand, and he's saying, "Lie down, lads, now, lie down, get down, get down." Oh my God, there was no messing in those days. But I used to love the crack in those days, and things were different. I remember Nedeen coming up the street one day in the village. It was the main street, you see. The further you walk, the mainer it got. And we got... He comes up the village and he has the hall door of his house under his arm, and he's struggling up, you see. And you see the tears were rolling down his back because he was cross-eyed and suffered from bacteria. And he's coming up the street, you see, and he has the hall door under his arm, and I says to him, "Nedeen," says I, "what are you doing with the hall door under your arm?" And says he, "I lost the key. I'm afraid I'll be locked out when I go back." Well, says I, "Here, play it here," says I. So you better not lose the door or you'll never get in at all. Aye, says he, "It doesn't matter, I left the window open just in case." Oh my God, he was a fine man, you think. And I used to love the crack, you see. I remember there was an old pub in the village. It was a small little shebeen. Now it was a very, very small pub, and it was a rough pub now. The fellow who owned it had 4 Alsatians. They used to go around together, back to back. Oh, and if you saw a cat with a tail, you'd say he's a tourist. I'm telling you. And I remember all the local villagers used to go to this pub, and they used to drink there all the time, and there was 2 fellas, Mickey and Pagine, and they were regular in the pub. I think they were regular at home as well, but they were more regular in the pub than they were at home. And they drank there every night, and the fellow who owned the pub decided, says, "If God says, I'm going to get the place done up." And he closed it down for 3 months. And had no conscience remorse at all, left 400 men homeless for 3 long months while he rebuilt the pub. And when he reopened it, he had a big official opening, and he invited all the lads, and didn't Mickey and Pagine come along. He got, they were only in the pub about 5 minutes looking at all the fancy decorations and the girls going around with no, you know what I mean, like, no bother. And they're going around the place. And they noticed mirrors behind the bar. Now, they never saw mirrors in their life. Never did they see a mirror in their whole life. Even at home, when they were shaving, they'd stand in front of each other and describe it, you see. So you can imagine how they felt when they're sitting at the other side of the bar and the mirrors all along the far side. And by God, Mickey looks at Pagine and he says, Pagine, says, by God, he said, not only did he get the place done up, he says, but he's after getting it extended. He said, look, there's another room over there. There's 2 lads sitting at the bar across the way. Have a look over. He said, look. One of them looks terrible like your brother that's in America. Have a look. Thank God, he said, they seem to know us. They're waving over at us. And Pagine looks over. Says, yes, the lad that's with him. He says it's terrible like your father when he was younger. I don't know. Says, I'm going over, he says, to buy them a drink. And because he was only walking away when Mickey grabbed him, and he says, come back, says he, I think they're coming over to buy a drink for us.